of the Badami Chalukya period in the Pilar Seminary. Now, in Pilar Seminary, there is a beautiful idol of Ganpati. It has decorations and lot of ornamentation, kamarband and all those things. And I was very curious to know when it was, when it was made, sculpted. So now Father Cosme Costa, who has preserved that Ganpati in the Pilar Seminary, he has written there Badami Chalukya period. Before the arrival of the Inquisition arrived in 1560. Now, before the arrival of the Inquisition, conversions had already started of the Hindus and Muslims to Christianity. So here, as you have rightly pointed out, the Chavath celebrations could not be held. So what happened was, in Kumarzua, the Portuguese used to come, the officers or missionaries, and they used to destroy the idols. So out of fear, our family resorted to paper Ganpati.
Hey everyone, welcome to our first episode of Soul Kadi. Today, we shall dive deep into the vibrant history and tradition of Ganesh Chaturthi in Goa. I am your host Shalini, and today we are thrilled to have a true guardian of Goa's heritage with us. Our guest is Professor Prajal Sakhardande, a renowned historian, a heritage activist, and head of the Department of History at Dempe College of Arts and Science at Panjim. He is the author of several books, including History of Women's Contribution to Goa's Freedom Struggle, Goa Gold, Goa Silver, Her History, Her Heritage, since earliest times to 2019, which is one of my favorites as well. Prajal sir has dedicated his career in preserving Goa's rich past from its pre-Portuguese roots to its modern cultural tapestry. We welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today. So to begin with, can you enlighten us about the history of Ganpati in Goa?
Whenever we start anything, we always invoke the blessings of Ganpati. And here again, I would like to start with the etymology of what is the etymology, what is the root of that word Ganpati, the name Ganpati, and or Ganesh and Chavath. Now, Ganpati, Ganancho Pati. Gan means people, Pati is the Lord. Okay, so he is the people's god, and Chavath means the fourth day of the Bhadrapad month according to the Hindu calendar. So fourth day of Bhadrapad month, the Ganpati arrives in everybody's houses in Goa, and so that's why it's called Chaturthi or Chavath. So, and the history of Ganpati date back to ancient times. I would go to the village of Shigaon. I'm not talking about Shirgaon, which is very popular, but I'm talking about Shigaon. Shigaon is a village which is on the banks of the Dudhsagar river. It is in Dharbanoda Taluka. Now, when we went to Shigaon, we saw that there is one rock there on the banks of the river Dudhsagar, and there is an imprint of Ganpati. And that is the oldest image or imprint of Ganpati on a laterite stone. And it is carved into the stone, and it is, if you ask the locals, they say it is Adi Ganpati. म्हणजे आताचो गणपती आदी म्हणजे पहिलीपासून हांगा गणपतीचे लोक people are worshipping here right from ancient times. And then we find that Ganpati is worshipped. It's not an Aryan deity but a Dravidian deity. Since Dravidian times, Ganpati has been worshipped, and through the centuries, during the Bhoja period, during the Konkan Mauryas, Badami Chalukyas, then Shilaharas, Kadambas, Vijayanagar, we find the worship of Ganpati in Goa. Now, particularly, I would like to mention that I have seen the oldest idol of Ganpati in a village called Patre in Sangye Taluka. And it was a very rudimentary kind of Ganpati. Then I have seen Ganpati in the Kurdi Mahadev temple. Okay, that particular Mahadev temple was built by the Kadamba king Shashtadev first in the 10th century. Then I have seen Ganpati of the Badami Chalukya period in the Pilar Seminary. Now, in Pilar Seminary, there is a beautiful idol of Ganpati. It has decorations and lot of ornamentation, kamarband and all those things. And I was very curious to know when it was, made, sculpted. So now Father Cosme Costa, who has preserved that Ganpati in the Pilar Seminary, he has written there Badami Chalukya period. So Badami Chalukya period is 7th century CE. So I was not sure whether it is of Badami Chalukya period. So what I did when I was doing my MPhil, my MPhil was on pre-Portuguese heritage of Goa. I went to Badami town, And that's where in the Museum of Badami in Karnataka, I saw exact idol of Ganpati, very akin to the Ganpati which is there in our Pilar Seminary. So then I could corroborate artistically that it is of the Badami Chalukya period. And it's a very beautiful idol of Ganpati. So that is one of the oldest idols. And then we find that on every Kadamba temple in Goa, on the lintel, that is Lalat Bim, there is Ganpati. Now if you go to Tamri Sulla temple, inside there is Ganpati. On the vestibule, that is called Antarala, there is Ganpati. In Khandepar caves temple, Khandepar cave temple of the Kadamba period, there is Ganpati on the lintel. So you find that Ganpati idols have been there during the Kadamba period, they are during the Vijayanagar period. In fact, the Ganpati temple of which is on Diwar Island was built during the period of Kadamba Queen Kamla Devi. Okay, and Shivachitta Permadi Dev. So there was a beautiful temple of Ganpati on the Diwar Island, and which is now in Khandola, Mashel. Yeah.
Goa was under the Portuguese rule for over 450 years, and
Yes.
from what I have read, Portuguese Inquisition made Hindu public celebrations quite challenging, which
Yes.
led to secretive practices like
Yeah.
worshipping Ganpati with patri leaves or paper idols and so on. So, how did these restrictions shape the way how Ganesh Chaturthi was celebrated in Goa as compared to other parts of India?
Yeah, in Goa, it's a very good question you have asked me. During the Portuguese rule, the Chavat celebration, the Ganpati celebration, was Chaturthi celebrations had to be clandestine. They could not openly do it, especially in Tiswadi, Bardej and Salsette, because these are the old conquests of the Portuguese. Now the Portuguese conquered Goa in the year 1510. Afonso de Albuquerque conquered the island of Tiswadi from the Adil Shah of Bijapur in 1510. And he effected the first conversion in Goa. First conversion was of Muslim Turki women who were converted to Roman Catholicism, and then the conversion started. Now, then you find there is the Inquisition period. Inquisition period was one of the dark chapters in Goa's history. Inquisition was the court, the religious court. Now, what happened was when now before the arrival of the Inquisition arrived in 1560. Now, before the arrival of the Inquisition, conversions had already started of the Hindus and Muslims to Christianity. Now, there was a beautiful temple of Ganpati of the Kadamba era on the island of Diwar. And now that particular temple was demolished by the Portuguese and it was shifted from Diwar to Vademaye across the river, from Vademaye to Khandepar, from Khandepar to Khandola. Now Khandola Mashal, there is a Ganpati. If you see the Ganpati idol of Khandola Mashal, it's very beautiful. It has a silver hand. Okay, so that big temple of Ganpati, that was demolished, and we find that most of the temples, whether Devki Krishna or which was in Shorao, was shifted to Maye. From Maye it was shifted to Mashal, and Mashal also you find a series of temples. In Ponda Taluka you find a series of temples. So those talukas, those places which were not under the Portuguese rule, the temples were shifted here. So here, as you have rightly pointed out, the Chavat celebrations could not be held openly. Now what happened? Like for example, I'll give you my family example. Now, our Ganpati, our ancestry is in Kumarzua Island. And then we moved to Ambeshi, that is Bicholin Taluka. Now, we were having the idol, but we find that from 16th century, we could not celebrate our Chavat with idol. Till today, we are celebrating with paper Ganpati. So, Chitratlo Ganpati. So, what happened was, in Kumarzua, the Portuguese used to come, the officers or missionaries, and they used to destroy the idols. So out of fear, our family resorted to paper Ganpati. That is, somebody from the family drew a sketch of Ganpati, put it in a wooden box, and so when the Portuguese arrived to check like whether anybody is celebrating Ganpati, there was no Ganpati. After the Portuguese left, we used to open the box and celebrate the paper Ganpati. Till today, we cannot bring idol. We have to celebrate paper Ganpati. And there are some families in Goa which still today celebrate paper Ganpati. It is the impact of the Portuguese rule in Goa. So, Inquisition later from 1560 brought about a lot of changes, especially in the celebration, the way Chavat was celebrated in Goa.
Sir, then why your family started worshipping paper Ganpati?
Precisely because the idols were demolished. Idols were broken by the Portuguese. You know, Portuguese iconoclasm. Iconoclasm means they come and destroy the idols. So the Portuguese were destroying the idols. So our family had to resort to paper Ganpati to dodge the Portuguese who used to come and check if anybody is worshipping during Savat time. So that was a direct impact on my own family, which I'm sharing with you.
1961, that is Goa's liberation, marked a turning point.
Yeah.
So how did this change revitalize the Ganesh celebrations in Goa?
Yeah. Now, if you see that Savat is our heritage. Till today, our families, Goan families, they go back to their ancestral house and Ganpati is celebrated in the ancestral house. Like in Maharashtra, people celebrate it in their individually nuclear families also. But here it is no. Here you have to go to your ancestral house and celebrate it. And that tradition continues. Now, when the Portuguese left on 19 December 1961, Goa was free, and Ganpati celebration, which was actually stopped in Tiswadi, Barden and Salset, it was restarted, because some of the families resettled in Tiswadi, Barden and Salset. And if you go to see Ponda, Sange, Kepe, Kankon, Pedne, Bicholi, Sattari, the Chavat is in its original form, it was celebrated, because by the time the Portuguese took those areas, it was the late 18th century. So their Chavat was not affected. Here Chavat was affected. So now after liberation, all over Goa, the Chavat was celebrated by the Hindus in a big way. I'm not saying Sarvajanik Ganpati. Sarvajanik Ganpati concept was started by Lokmanya Tilak in 1893 in Pune to make the freedom struggle come into the mainstream and for a broader cause, like to unite the people. Now that concept was not there in Goa. In Goa, it was the families which celebrated Ganpati in their ancestral houses. Later, we find that Sarvajanik Ganpati came into Goa also. So after liberation, what the change that you see after liberation is Sarvajanik Ganpati.
Oh, so
that
this
has
was
come
the change.
Yeah, this was the change. That Sarvajanik mandals were established.
Otherwise, it was practiced in Maharashtra, Karnataka.
Yeah, it was Maharashtra. Lokmanya Tilak had started it during the freedom movement. And in Goa, we did not have the concept. But after liberation, we find Sarvajanik Ganpati, where people come together in a public space and they celebrate. Even there is Sarvajanik Ganpati lottery, which is issued during that time. So liberation brought out a lot of changes. People were free. People felt that freedom, to celebrate it the way they wanted. Otherwise, during the Portuguese time, they had to hide, and then I told you the paper Ganpati and all that.
Sir, I've heard about the Hertalika being practiced by many of the communities in Goa, honoring goddess Parvati.
Yeah.
Is this a distinctly Goan practice, or can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah. I feel it is distinctly Goan because, like for example, we have Chauticha Paile Disa, means one day prior to Ganpati, it is called Toy. Okay, that is Hertalika. Now, what is this Hertalika? Wherein the mother of Ganpati, that is Parvati, okay. Now there is one particular legend which is quite famous, that Parvati wanted to have bath, and Shiva had her husband Lord Shiva had gone to the forest. So when he returned, before his return, Parvati wanted a guard too. So what she did, she took the flesh of her body, which means it is a symbolic, flesh meaning the earth. That's why we make the idol of the clay, Mother Earth. So that Ganpati was made, and this boy, who is now the son of Parvati, he stopped Shiva from entering the house because he was obeying the orders of his mother. So Shiva cut off his head. Now when Parvati came, then she was very furious, and also Shiva went back and he found an elephant, he cut his head and put it. So that Hertalika, the mother of Ganpati, she is celebrated. Like in our Goa, we have this Matru, all over the country, I must say, Matru Dev, that is our mother is next to God. So before celebrating Ganpati, we celebrate the Mother Earth. Now, while we are celebrating Gauri, we do Gauri Pujan, we use all kinds of patri, leaves and all that. That is Mother Goddess, that is Earth Goddess. So we celebrate that, and the same thing, that all the vegetables, roots and this thing, we showcase on the Matoli, which is a canopy above Ganpati's head. So this is a very unique concept where we give importance to the god, to the mother of the god, mother of a Ganpati, that is Parvati or Gauri.
As a heritage activist, you've been involved in preserving Goa's cultural legacy. Are there any lesser known historical sites which listeners should know about, like of Ganesh worship, like some ancient temples or maybe some inscriptions?
Yeah, in fact, as I've told you that there is a Ganpati idol which every Goan must go to the Pilar Seminary and look at the Ganpati idol. It's very beautiful. It's in the Pilar Seminary Museum and dating to the Badami Chalukya period. Then when I went to the village called Patre in Sangya Taluka, there is that idol of Ganpati over there. And like for example, lesser known as you have mentioned, Khandepar caves, most people, they don't seem to be visiting Khandepar. Like if you go to see, I don't know how many Goans have seen the Khandepar cave temples. There are small temples, square in shape, and there is Ganpati on the lintel, and there is a Shivling. It's a cave temple. Like there, you will find a beautiful the way the Ganpati is carved. Then Kurdi Mahadev temple, which is actually in Kurdi village, now it is shifted to Shelpe Salauli next to the dam. There also we saw an idol of Ganpati just inside the temple, very beautifully carved. So what I find is Kadamba period, most of the temples have Ganpati. Like when they visit these temples, I don't know whether they look at all the sides, because Ganpati is very much pronounced in most of the temples. Like for example, when we start our education, we'll write Sri Ganesha. So anything that we start in our religion, we find that we invoke the blessings of Ganpati. So that is why I feel that most of the architectural heritage of, as you have said, cultural legacy, you find Ganpati is part of the culture, whether it is Kadamba period or whether it is any of the rulers, Vijayanagar, you find Ganpati is there. In most of the temples, you'll find there is a Ganpati which may be addressed. Recently, I had gone to one village called Poera near Mae. There is a beautiful Ganpati temple, a singular Ganpati temple. It is not Panchayatan. Ganpati is one entire temple dedicated to Ganpati, like it is in Khandola, Mashal. Okay, so Poera Ganpati, how many of Goans have seen Poera Ganpati? It's a very beautiful black idol of Ganpati. So you find that Ganpati's presence is very much there in all parts of Goa, and in every village I feel that there will be something about once, at least a little shrine about Ganpati. So when you enter any temple, you'll find there is a side, there will be a Ganpati. So it's a very important deity.
Finally, sir, can you share a personal story of memory of your Ganesh Chaturthi?
Yeah, my Ganesh Chaturthi, actually, our family Ganesh Chaturthi is very unique. Actually, the village, that means my father's village, Ambeshi, nobody knows about it. And in the entire map of Goa, if you see the modern map of Goa, Ambeshi is nowhere mentioned. People know Pari. Pari people know, Kothambi people know, but below Pari, on the banks of the Madai, there is a small village, maybe the tiniest village in Goa, called Ambeshi. Now, our ancestors, the history goes this way, that they were from Kumarzua. Because they did not want to get converted, they shifted to Ganje, which is opposite Ambeshi, Usgaon, Ganje. Opposite side is Ambeshi. Now there is a bridge now. Otherwise, Ambeshi was not connected to the world. So we used to, I know my childhood memories, we used to regularly every year go to Ambeshi, and everything we had to carry with us because nothing was available in that village. It was a small village, just 40 houses, and ours was paper Ganpati. There was a Chitra Shala which I used to visit, and I used to feel every house, of the 30 houses, 39 houses used to have idol, and ours was without an idol. I used to feel so sad. Till
Like
today, we are
40th house without
40th
an
house
idol.
without idol. And I used to feel, oh, nice Pitambar, the Ganpati is wearing yellow, colorful. And my childhood memories are connected with Ganpati of Ameshi. And Ameshi, actually, all Goans should visit. In the 1952 map of the Portuguese have shown Ameshi on the map. But our Indian maps, they are not showing Ameshi. So I'm very proud of my village, and every year we used to go there. Now what has happened, our house is there in Ameshi. It is brought to my cousin's place in Merces, and it is in a flat. So
There
in
is
a
no
flat,
feeling
there
of
is no
soul.
that kind of a thing like where we used to all
Right.
Sakhardande family used to go there and we used to celebrate. So it's a different thing.
Thank you so much, Prajal sir, for this enlightening conversation. Your insights have truly brought the history of Sovath to life. Hey listeners, if you liked our episode, do subscribe to our channel, and you can comment and post your Sovath stories and Matoli tradition in the comment section. Until next time, see you all for the next episode of Soul Kadi. Let's digest the facts with Shalini.